Welcome to Success is in the Mind with me, Oliver Bruce, and Hugo Tilmouth. Today we're joined by James Griffith, the dynamic CEO and co-founder of Mous, a tech accessory brand renowned for its high-performance protective cases. James's journey is testament to resilience and innovation. From humbling beginnings, he and his team faced numerous challenges, including early product failures and manufacturing hurdles. Their persistence paid off with a groundbreaking crowdfunding campaign that secured pre-orders worth over £2.5 million. At one point, James even moved to China to be closer to manufacturers and ensure Mous's product met the highest possible standards. Join us as we delve into his inspiring story of turning setbacks into successes.
And we lost our life savings in about 6 months trying to do it.
What were the life savings?
About 45k. I had guaranteed 2.5 million in debt.
Personally?
Yeah. Because everything was going so well.
You've put £2.5 million on your head.
Got a loan from Virgin Startup.
Is that literally what happened? Mr. Branson himself was backing.
I got all the codes wrong, so I sent every single parcel to the wrong address.
Oh God!
Sometimes when things are super unique, it's because it's not a good idea and no one wants them. That's why it's not been done. We maxed out because we were like, this is the last. We're going all in on this.
Yeah.
Rented a cherry picker and we threw our phones off and it worked.
So we are here today with James, the founder of Mous. Mous, where did that name come from? Can you give us the backstory and how you got to having an exciting business today?
Well, Mous first came from our first product that was not so good. There was a phone case that could wind in your headphones for lost and tangled headphones. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great idea or a well-designed product or a well-manufactured product. And then Apple did remove the headphone jack. So it didn't last very long. And we lost our life savings in about 6 months trying to do it. So
What were the life savings?
about 45k.
Well, how old were you?
24, 25.
How does someone at that age save up?
I'd had a business for quite a few years. I started my first business at uni selling stuff online. So it took about 9 years to save all that money and 6 months to burn it.
So what was the business at uni then? Because you clearly done it before, or at least sort of dabbled in the world of business before.
Yeah, I started selling stuff online and all sorts of products really. But when I remember getting my first student loan thinking like, wow, this cash flow. So
Cash is king.
So bought a load of gloves, lambskin gloves.
Right.
Okay.
My dad was in that area of business, and so bought a load of stock and started selling online. People would knock on the door and be like, "Why have you not unpacked?" And I was like, "No, this is my stuff."
It's 1,000 pairs of gloves.
Lambskin gloves. How on earth did you end up with that? That seems like a very niche market.
Yeah, it's very niche. That people needed to keep warm for Christmas, so there we go.
Okay. And so
You were using it as well.
yeah. But you were doing this before kind of the e-com world was like very fashionable.
Very early on. So selling on like eBay.
Really?
Yeah,
So before even Shopify was a thing, you were...
Yeah, I mean, it might have been, but selling on eBay.
Do you know,
and then eventually my flatmates would, or people on my course would ship the product for me.
Yeah.
So, there was...
Did you pay them?
We also started the other thing, which was we started selling stuff for people on eBay.
eBay as a service.
Yeah, eBay as a service. And, we would sell some quite expensive stuff, like, collectibles that they didn't want, gold coins and all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah.
And we worked out that if everything finished on a Sunday night, you would get the highest bids. And we realised we could make more money if we insured the product ourselves. We didn't actually insure it. We just kind of asked for insurance. I think we'd lose like one or two, right? But I got all the codes wrong. So I sent every single parcel to the wrong address.
Oh God!
But interestingly, if you're honest with people, we sent a nice little letter and a package saying we really messed up, but if you all send on your parcels, you'll eventually get what you want. We only lost one thing.
No way.
Yeah.
Seriously?
So yeah.
So how many people did you send out product to?
It was a lot. It was. I can't remember.
How did you track it back and go, okay, so Barry down the road's got what's for Mary. How did you send the right letter to Mary to get it?
It all just went wrong, and I was sitting there, and I'd that's gone to that.
But you still made 45,000 quid to put into Mous and
lose it.
and then lose it immediately, as well as parcels. So there's a running theme.
So I've heard about this very early story. So can you tell us what actually happened there? So you were obviously running around with your wired headphones. You thought that this was the future. No one's ever going to cut that wire. And it's just the only thing that could make this better is if you could reel it up so that it wasn't tangled in your pocket. Can you tell us about that product and what actually the story was there?
Yeah, sure. Well, so I tried to do another business beforehand. So I thought at that point, direct to consumer was quite interesting. Working at Procter & Gamble, decided to go into the area that I knew the most because I was working on beauty at the time. Terrible idea. Don't just go into whatever you know. Go into something that you're actually interested in. So that didn't work. And then saw that tech accessories was just quite an interesting area because, being at Procter & Gamble, I'd learned that, they own many household brands, whether it's in commoditized categories or small categories. All categories have brands. Mm-hmm. But tech accessories, the iPhone was only created in 2007, boomed in 2012. So that there was this new fast growing category, but not really, it takes decades to build a household brand. And I imagine there's going to be quite a few in tech accessories. So we bought a 3D printer and, Josh had already designed this, a similar product for, his uni project. So we thought we need, how can we compete on Amazon? We need something unique. So we went, sometimes when things are super unique, it's because it's not a good idea and no one wants them. That's why it's not been done.
Yep.
Which was this product.
Which is the case of the wired headphones.
So we got it into mass manufacturing just before quitting our jobs. Got a loan from Virgin Startup.
So they thought it was a good idea.
They thought it was a good idea. Yeah, they thought it was a good idea.
Mr. Branson himself was backing the
and then
wired movement.
Then we went straight into mass manufacturing, and then
how much was the loan from Virgin, by the way?
It was £7,000.
£7,000.
Yeah.
How much was the manufacturing?
I think we spent £15,000 on tooling.
Wow.
And the problem is we were doing things we were manufacturing in China, but we weren't there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the product wasn't well designed for mass manufacturing.
It was a 3D printed product, I guess.
Well, yeah, we designed it, in our bedrooms.
Yeah.
And then we tried to move it to mass manufacturing. We'd learned on the way, and we were like, oh, you need to do this and that, the other. But, we were trying to manage it, over
WeChat.
Yeah.
WeChat.
Basically WeChat,
Yeah.
And you need to be on the ground. So
yeah.
then when it
had you been to China at all at this point?
No. When it started to go wrong,
there's sort of inflection doesn't really matter. Don't need to go there when you're designing a product. What's the point? Why did that not cross your mind?
But when it started to go wrong, Josh went to China, and then we got to a point where we'd run out of money. There was a bit of demand for the product. To be fair, we had a successful Kickstarter.
Well done. Did you pay that £7,000 loan back?
We shipped all of our first product to everyone with a letter saying, "This is what we've got to. It doesn't work very well yet, so we're gonna have another go." So we still shipped something, and we were just like, "It's not great, so we're gonna reship you another product."
Wow.
How did
people react to that?
Okay.
Yeah,
because we would be again.
You're honest.
Being honest. And we did flop. We did ship another product.
Yeah.
What was the difference in that product?
We actually got some investment from our from various angels.
Yeah.
That for most of them it's been the best investment they've ever made, but it was quite a stupid investment in some ways. But it was a terrible product.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were backing us as people.
Yeah.
So we raised about 150k at that point. We then moved to China to try and make another version of this product, which we did. We got it into retailers as well. But by the time we got to that point, Apple removed the headphone jack. So
bit of a spanner.
So that was the end of that that vision of no more tangled headphones. Apple sorted it out.
Well, they did just by chopping it off. That's perfect. So I just want to go right back to that $7,000. Then obviously the fact that you put in that money for the tooling, then you raised 150k. At what point did you lose that $45,000 that you were talking about? Because it sounds like
I'd say within about it's hard to remember. I'd guess about 6 to 9 months, I'd say. But I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I mean, I'd spent 9 years or whatever saving that money through having another business.
Yeah.
But I do think that you get compound learning from starting a business. I've wanted to build a consumer business from the start, really, and I wanted it to have some real depth to it. I didn't want to just brand something up. So, you need to spend money to do that, and you need to, by doing that, you learn.
Yeah.
And I think you get compounded learnings. So even if you fail and you need to get a job, like, I mean, people spend like, how much does it cost to do like an MBA? Oh, how much does it cost to go to uni?
A lot now.
Yeah. I think it's 150 grand to do an MBA. Like, it's seriously expensive.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and how much does it cost to go to uni?
Lots.
Yeah, right. As in, so like, I believe it's
like $9 grand a year, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So I think I would have learned way more from like that 6 months than 3 years at uni.
Yeah.
But it's super interesting because I've met Hugo through a massive mistake that I made. It's not.
Story for another time.
So I met Hugo in a business that went completely tits up for me. And I say it was my most expensive MBA, but the best MBA I've ever done. And that's compound learning. That is compound learning.
Yeah. And then it pays out in the future, doesn't it? So,
yeah.
So
Well, you hope so.
Even if you fail and you need to get a job, you'll most probably get that money back.
Absolutely.
And although unfortunately it did compound in terms of the amount we were spending as well, so just to get a bit more high stakes as we moved on.
So then you raised 150k to go and reproduce a product that wasn't working in the first place. Then they cut the headphones, so then you had some sort of product that wasn't really in existence at all. What happened at that point?
So we realised that we were going to run out of money. And we certainly wouldn't have money. We certainly wouldn't have any cash left to try starting another business. So we'd be back at getting a job and then working for years to save it up and then potentially go again. So the two things we thought was, well, we messed up in product development and manufacturing, and we need to learn to get better at that. And the other thing is, how can we do this for longer? How can we have a longer runway? So it was quite obvious that if we moved to China, we were going to be amongst, we were living in Dongguan, where we were living next to kilometers and kilometers of like top manufacturers. And also the cost of living was much cheaper.
Yeah. So tell us, how much does it actually cost to live in China?
We were eating like street food. So I reckon we were like, we weren't spending that much in the UK. I'd say mostly like at the time, maybe like £1.50 a day.
Wow.
What?
Isn't it?
Today?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
You can't even buy a coffee here for that.
Yeah, but I definitely wasn't buying coffee when I was an early founder either.
Well, no, the perspective. I was talking to someone this morning who called me up and he said, when is the right time to leave my job? Because he's got a full-time job, right? And he's wanting to do what you do, etc. And he has a salary. He's about to generate revenue. When is the right time to leave your job?
Well, I personally think that you want to try and get paid to your learning is relevant to whatever business you're starting. So we actually moved to China and we actually then started doing product consultancy because that was an area we felt was a big development area for us. And we were getting paid to learn, right?
You were learning on someone else's dollar.
And I've met so many successful founders that have done the same thing. And there's so much stuff that you need to learn to like, if you're going to do a consumer business, for example, like don't learn doing your own meta ads, like waste someone else's money, right?
Yeah.
So I'd recommend don't necessarily rush it. I think nowadays there's this kind of sense that people kind of get. You only hear about the majority of people once they're successful.
Correct.
Yeah.
But actually,
survivorship bias, right? The people who actually made it are the ones that go on the podcast, do the talks, and therefore, that seems like the norm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think actually learning first can actually cut out years of mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's what you did. Tell us about this this agency or consultancy that you set up.
Well, we were. I mean, interestingly, Asia and China is very strong at manufacturing and product development, and so we were on the ground, whereas a lot of Western companies and individuals didn't want to be there. So, I'd go out and pitch our expertise, to various businesses, and then Josh and Will would I'd come back and be like, right, we now need to make a coffee machine. We're experts. And then you would need to make it happen. But then that's the best way to learn. And again, you're learning, with someone else's kind of fronting the risk, I guess.
Yeah.
But then it does get you to a point that you can do your own thing. And I think when you hear a lot of entrepreneurial stories, it's interesting. We've been discussing now before we've got to really like the real more known Mous stuff.
Yeah.
But actually most entrepreneurs have had many, many years doing other stuff until they work it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you guys are the same, right?
Well,
so what were you doing?
Everyone's still working it out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think you can crack it within reason, but economies change, markets change, governments change, things change. Demand, like headphones change, right?
Yeah.
You think you've cracked it at one point, but Warren Buffett says it so well, complacency kills businesses.
Yeah.
If you get complacent, you think you've cracked it, at that point sometimes you die.
Yeah. And then the business pivoted, so we then kind of moved that more into we then became a manufacturer. So we were advising businesses, and then they would say, well, actually, can you manufacture this for us? And we would work with the manufacturers.
Yeah.
And then we started building relationships with factories, both through working with them, but then also socially. And then that over time got us to a point where we could consider going, right, now let's do Mous 2.0.
So you're obviously running around these factories, experiencing the wonderful world of China. Where did the idea for creating your first phone case come from?
So we were still very interested in tech accessories, and we'd built relationships with tech accessory manufacturers, and we started doing consulting in that area, and we did some protective cases, and so it was learnings from our first experience with Mous Music Case, the functional phone case, and I guess learnings from doing consulting for some some big brands in tech accessories. And I guess the two learnings was the first on the functional side of things is we learned that basically when we made the headphone bit modular. Mm-hmm. So we put magnets in and we made it modular, and we put that on the site. People were 10 times more interested in the one that was modular.
Interesting.
So that was like, oh wow, people really like this kind of magnetic modularity on the back of the phone. Unfortunately, the function we were giving them wasn't of interest really.
Yeah,
it wasn't mass market. So initially we started experimenting with different functions. So, wallets and car mounts, and even wireless charging, even before the phone was wireless charging. So that was one learning. And then a separate learning was we were actually advising people on how to make protective phone cases. And then we kind of thought, well, this is quite weird because these guys are leaders in protective phone cases. Or, these guys, are,
supposed to be leaders.
These are premium brands that are selling their expertise for protecting a phone, but they're actually paying us to do it.
Yeah.
And also we started to realize we could make quite significant improvements, because at the time, a lot of phone cases were made out of just soft TPU.
Yeah.
They would sometimes put shock absorbing material in the TPU, but the phone cases they wouldn't be stiff.
No.
So you could just but the iPhone 6 at the time was actually aluminium, and you could, I remember when the 6 Plus came out and you could literally bend it. So you put it in your back pocket and you could bend it, but drop it onto the floor with much more potential impact, and you would bend a corner or whatever.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, if the case isn't stiff, when it hits the floor, it will just kind of peel off and then your screen will hit the floor.
Yeah, sure.
So you need to have a really tight, stiff phone case. And then the top brands, or some of the top brands didn't have that. So it was like, well, there's this weird kind of...
so you're looking at these guys who are selling huge volume,
like
but
crazy
their technology is way down.
and more volumes than we like have still done now.
Yeah.
As in like, so crazy volumes.
Yeah. And you're watching them and they have not got any technology in their case.
They did have technology, but they
Okay.
kind of prioritized it wrong.
Okay.
So they had some really interesting technology, but it wasn't stiff.
Yep.
So then it was falling at the first hurdle.
Which
Yep.
just
So-
to me seems the most obvious thing.
Yeah. So if you were to
In
get
hindsight, yeah.
if you were to get a iPhone 6 and throw it outside the Apple Store, I mean, you wouldn't really want to do that in public, would you?
Yeah.
So we started learning because we were kind of, so Josh and Will, they're both engineers, and I did maths and applied maths and stuff. So we were living in China. Couldn't go onto like Facebook or Instagram or the news or Google because it's all banned.
So you had no distraction.
Nothing else to do
Yeah.
than basically get into me and Josh used to get into very intense debates of what would make a protective case.
Okay.
And so we would kind of debate it, and then we'd start throwing phones as well in the office.
Really?
Before doing consulting, and then we kind of learn, okay, we need to make it like this, we need to make it like that. That's how we also made the TPU we used was like insanely stiff. So you'll notice if you use a mouse case, it's really hard to get off.
Yeah, it is. I was trying to do that this morning on Exhibit A, and it is impossible.
And that's for a reason. And we use very stiff TPU, which is actually quite hard to manufacture with because you need to get it off the tool.
Of course.
So like our suppliers hate it. So can't we just use softer
Yeah.
TPU? It's easier to get off the tool. But then
Then you can't throw it out a helicopter. More on that later.
It's almost military grade though, because it is to the level of you can literally run over it, drop it. I did it the other day. I dropped my phone. I thought, bugger, that's going to have smashed. And then I remembered I had the trusty mouse case, and it was perfectly fine. Genuinely, it was perfectly fine. We'll just take a quick pause there. We'll get back to the episode in a minute. But I just wanted to say thank you to you guys who are listening to this episode, who are subscribing and following the podcast. If you haven't already, please do hit that follow and subscribe button. And maybe you can also share it with friends, with family, and with colleagues to hopefully inspire them on their entrepreneurial journey. Genuinely, we can't do this podcast without you. So thank you. Let's get back to the episode.
Okay, so obviously you've come up with this idea. You've seen these guys who are selling quite poor quality cases. You spotted a gap in the market. You know, you start manufacturing these cases in China. How do you actually get people to know about it and launch? Because I think now it seems quite obvious how you would go and do it, talking outside Apple stores. But can you talk us through how you got to that famous moment that kind of really built the brand?
there's quite a lot of flying backwards and forwards first, because we could design something that was really protective, but it would be quite thick. Mm-hmm. And Lucy, who's a designer, wanted it to be very thin. So that took quite a while. Then once we had something that worked, we didn't actually necessarily know what was going to sell it. And so it was only after doing lots and lots of split tests that throwing the phone kind of made a big difference.
And that first throw, can you talk us through? Because I remember it so well when you first did that, and it just went viral. But like you basically, did you queue up outside the Apple store in order to get the first phones that came out, or what was the actual story behind that?
First of all, we just went on a normal day and just started throwing stuff outside the Apple store.
Yeah.
And then we could tell that people quite liked it because people were stopping and taking photos and videoing and stuff. Then we had to do a crowdfunding campaign. So we were like, let's kind of
make this the hook.
Yeah, let's take this to the next level. So we got a cherry picker with our own phones. And then, because at this point, we'd extended our runway from living in China for many years. We'd got an income, but to mass manufacture products, you need to spend hundreds of thousands on tooling. Mm-hmm. We'd mass manufacture products. So I think we owed our factories, who were very kind to lend us, about 150K.
Mm-hmm.
How did you broker that deal? Because quite often, and I've dealt with China very briefly, and they often want payment up front.
We'd already been manufacturing for other customers, and
we built a relationship.
Yeah.
So they gave you the credit terms.
Yes. But we maxed out because we were like, this is the last. We're going all in on this.
Yeah.
And so we were down to, our last, savings, and we rented a cherry picker and we threw our phones off and it worked. First time. We did take a phone to 60 foot and that didn't work.
Oh, it's smashed.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Does it work now at 60 foot, or is that?
No, that's pretty high. I mean, like, we do show in our videos a lot when stuff breaks.
Yeah.
Because it's the right thing to do. Right?
Yeah.
So that our cases do not make your phone indestructible. But
who's genuinely throwing their phone from 60 foot on, an average day? People are throwing it from 3 foot normally,
exactly.
From their pocket or from their bike or what have you.
Yeah.
But it's fun to kind of illustrate how outrageous you can go with that.
out.
But then, so I know the moment you're talking about, which is we started to build a business. In fact, we were working in the same office.
That was it. That's how we met. We were opposite each other. I don't know if you know this. We were
WeWork.
in the WeWork. Yeah, we were opposite. And I remember so clearly you guys running around and, flying off to China, and we were doing the same with our charging business. And this classic moment where you managed to win office space off Adam Newman, as in the Adam Newman who built WeWork. And you managed to get it for, I think you'd grown the team to 150 people or something outrageous. And you got all of this office space for free. And I don't think they quite realized that you weren't a little startup with 4 people. And they were like, we've just given these guys 2 years of free office space, which is actually costing us hundreds of thousands of pounds. So you
Maybe you're
kind of won in that situation.
You're the reason they've gone bust. Right?
I don't know that. That is a very exaggerated version, but yeah, as in there was more hustling going on. Yeah, but good old days of WeWork. Yeah, they were the days where they had the WeWork festivals and they flew all the staff to the UK, and then everyone in the UK could come for free, and it was free food and drink for 3 days.
It's funny that was a profitable model.
Yeah, good way to spend Softback's money, I think.
Yeah. We enjoyed it.
So what happened after you initially hacked that hook then, when you got that throwing of the phone case? What happened to sales?
Something that we'd done is we had started to put magnets in our cases. So the first cases had steel plates in.
Right.
But we wanted to align, the iPhone 8 was going to have wireless charging in, and we wanted to align the wireless charging coils, because that resulted in a much more efficient charge. And then you could also have charging car mounts in the car and all sorts of accessories. So we moved to put magnets in the cases. Now, in Apple's guidelines, and when we spoke to OEMs and stuff, they kind of said, do not put magnets in cases because there's loads of potential issues. Compasses, over the air signal,
hotel key card. What's that?
NFC, lots of potential wireless charging, lots of issues. But we did it anyway because we kind of really saw the vision of how awesome would it be if you could do this, and people loved it. So the time the iPhone 10 was launching, which was the first full glass back iPhone,
which was when it became kind of straight, because it used to be before that there was a little curve in it, wasn't there? It was more plastic. Do you remember the old white ones? Curvy.
Was
the iPhone 10 when it?
The iPhone 10 is when you didn't have the home button, so it was very big screen on the back and then glass on the back.
Okay. As they are kind of now.
So we got the new iPhone 10. There was we queued up. There was a lot of press there. A lot of press there.
Did you organise the press, or was that?
No, it was for Apple.
Okay.
There's a lot of press there. Got the phone, put it in one of our cases, stood outside the iPhone Apple store, and threw it in the air. And then eventually, someone in the queue I gave it to him, and he really threw it super high. So I think, Jesus, this is. And there was press, taking photos, filming it, and they all put it in the. In the media.
Yeah. No way.
And yeah, it was all completely fine because it was stiff and it had aero shock in, and it was all these kind of reasons why it survived.
But just on that point, so you went outside the App Store. The phone hadn't been released yet. This is the first time you'd ever seen the phone. How did you figure out the shape of that new phone before it was going to come out?
That's a story for another day.
It's definitely a story of it now.
But we were a bit smaller then. We kind of ran straight to a coffee shop. We started editing in the coffee shop, put a video onto USB drive, and I cycled to Viral Thread with an iPhone 10 and gave Viral Thread the footage. I said, this is a really good video. You want, because they got millions of views, right?
Yeah.
You want to post this video, and if you do, you can keep the iPhone. They're like, well, I'm not actually going to post the video, but they did. And that also helped. So that went viral.
Yeah.
No way.
And then, so we were kind of, at that point, we were like, our ads were doing really well. Facebook, for some reason, thought we were fraudulent because we were like scaling ad spend so much.
What was the scale on ad spend that you were doing?
It was, I can't remember. I think the problem I got into that, I think it was Friday night, was I could spend 5k and then Facebook would think it was fraudulent. So I would then open a new account, reset up all of the ads, spend another 5k, get another credit card out.
Oh my God.
By this point, we'd already done like quite a lot of maxing out the credit cards in the journey. So I had a nice like bank of credit cards. So we were basically rotating cards, hadn't slept that much. Then that weekend, kind of thinking, this is amazing. Like, the business is going so well.
What revenues were you doing off those max credit cards?
I can't remember, but we had produced a lot of stock. I had guaranteed 2.5 million in debt.
And what did you actually
personally? Yeah.
What did you have to
because everything was going so well.
Yeah.
But did you have anything to actually underpin that? Did you have a property? Did you have any money?
No.
So
as in like, we were just going bankrupt. Yeah. But as in,
wow.
Anyway, went on a date and then, got lost on the way to the date. And so
that is because you had magnets in your phone.
Correct.
Couldn't use the compass.
Yeah. I mean, we never shipped these products, but basically we got Apple had moved the compass to below one of our magnets.
Oh my God.
Just for the record, I said that as a joke. I genuinely didn't think that was... I did not think that was
real. So we had all of this stock. And we were like...
You've just spent... you've put 2.5 million quid on your head. You've manufactured all of these units. And it's only once the physical phone has come out that you've realised that the magnet is interfering with the phone somehow. Is that literally what happened?
Yeah. So we looked.
And what do you do? It's not like you can go on GitHub and change the code. You can't update a physical product. What?
Well, so we looked at cutting out the magnets that didn't work. We looked at heating them up that also didn't work. The guys were just like, just go to sleep because you're not going to be any use. So you go to sleep. I think that happened for about 48 hours, and then
I imagine you're plucking.
Eventually, they worked out that if we did the opposite to how you magnetize a magnet, we could put a case in a machine and send electromagnetic waves to that specific magnet.
Yeah,
and demagnetize each. Like, we were reviving the business case by case.
Oh wow!
And then we just needed to scale that out, and the business was alive again.
And how many?
No
cases?
way.
I can't remember a lot though. It's the point that we were like, okay, we've learned how to do one.
2.5 million quid's worth.
No, I don't know. Well, I was in that much of debt, but I don't know whether I spent the whole lot on that specific case. And it was me. Yeah, it was a business.
And so that worked.
That worked. I mean, amusingly, that was actually the second magnet issue we had. The first magnet issue was with our crowdfunding campaign, where we'd promised everything for Christmas, and we wanted to kind of hit that date, because previously with Music Case we disappointed, and we were shipping free wall mounts with all of our
wall mounts.
Yeah, for the wall.
But why would one want to put a phone on the wall
next to your bed or something? Anyway, they were free. And they were in all of our packaging. They were really strong wall mounts. I mean, you could put them in the car. They were really strong.
Fair.
When you put 100 cases or 100 magnets together into a big, or even just the singular packages, first of all, the first problem we had is you put them in a master carton, and the master carton was so magnetic it wasn't even allowed to be on the plane.
No.
Seriously?
Yeah, so then we had to work out how to deal with
Why
that.
don't you just put underneath the plane on the fuselage? Just like, just
And then the other problem we had is when we then got them to the other side, eventually, after solving that problem, stuff would like they'd stick to things. So that was the first kind of minor magnet issue. The magnet issues kept coming. Then after, we solved it out, we demagnetized that magnet. We then started building our ecosystem, wallets. We'd already done wallets, chargers and things. We really didn't want to have that problem again. And we also wanted to have something that was compliant with the Qi guidelines, which is the wireless charging guidelines at the time. So by this point, we got, much bigger, and we had some fantastic engineers. So we kind of set out being like, well, how can we create the ultimate ecosystem? And at the time, Apple had announced AirPower. If you're geeky enough to remember that, you'll definitely remember.
Of course, I loved it.
Yeah. So AirPower was I think it's the only product that Apple has launched or announced, and it was even on packaging, and then never shipped. And so it was like multiple coils that you could put your phone and other devices on, and then it would charge all of them, because people would get irritated by missing the coil or whatever. We were quite concerned that having our magnets could cause certain issues with that. So we basically made our ecosystem Qi compliant, and we also managed to design an ecosystem that sent the magnetic flux away from the phone. So we could even put an array of magnets over the compass, and you wouldn't get lost on your date.
Oh, wow.
Just in case the compass moved.
that's clever.
So we had 25 magnets positioned in a special array that would direct the flux in a direction and then shield on the other side. And it created a really strong pull. One of the products that I'd be the most proud of, mainly because it feels like it kind of pioneered change within the industry. Because then eventually, that 疫osystem really started to pop off. And then we had the second magnetic issue was when Apple then launched MagSafe.
Yeah.
Because then we had, I imagine, the biggest modular ecosystem on the planet, and our cases weren't compatible with the iPhone.
Okay, so obviously going back to, the success that you've had off the back of all of these crazy failures, like, do you have any advice for entrepreneurs, or any things that, you've taken and kind of built into the business to make sure that you succeed going forward?
Every founder has to do the same thing. You have to manage 3 ingredients. So those ingredients are capital, talent, and ideas. And you're always running out of one of the 3 ingredients, or it's a form of the ingredients. So it might not be like cash, it might be debt, or it might not be like ideas, it might be strategy, or it might not be hiring, it might be developing. And at any point, you just need to work out what ingredient you're short on and get more of that ingredients. And that's how you build a business.
And that's your job as the founder, would you say?
Yeah. So you're always moving around, building one of those 3 ingredients.
Interesting.
What happens when you're going through a process, though, and everything's going wrong, and you can listen to that anecdote and you can say, yeah, it's all about the 3 ingredients, but actually shit has just hit the fan and you are running out of money, your product doesn't work, you're having to innovate. How do you actually pick yourself up, dust yourself down and carry on? Because that's properly hard.
I feel like early on, you just need to kind of be relentless. I think as time goes on, those failures do count as kind of like they strengthen your team and count as learning. So now if something goes wrong on, I don't know, a backpack design or wireless charging design, it's not catastrophic for the business, but it's actually like fantastic development for the team.
Yeah.
So I think you just need to kind of be relentless enough to go like, oh, eventually I'm going to build a business and then this stuff won't matter and I'll just be taking it on the chin, I guess.
Yeah. So obviously you've had a lot of up and downs. You've picked yourself up and dusted yourself down. But what is next for Mous? What is Mous's next kind of 5-10 years look like?
We've started to learn kind of what we're about. And we've learned that we can become the most arguably one of the most capable within a category. So, within tech accessories, we've got certain capabilities that are world class. And when it's worked really well for us, it's when we've had those capabilities match up with certain kind of Mous style content. So we kind of call the mixing the two together Mous mix. It's an internal thing. And when things haven't worked so well for us, it might be because we're focusing on a capability like, I don't know, battery storage, but then you can't really create infamous Mous content around that. So that's kind of off the table.
So it has to fit that Venn diagram of both being able to kind of go viral, but also be an interesting feature.
Exactly. And I think that's because you can put, relentless energy into making the best product. But if people don't know about it, then
that's the point.
And also we're building a brand, right? So, to build a household brand, which is we discussed at the beginning, you need to make the brand famous. So, matching up kind of capabilities with content, I think, is quite key. We started to actually take our learnings on protection to larger devices. So throwing iPads and then MacBooks. And then we actually, famously, I guess there are businesses that have kind of focused on certain capabilities and taking that cross category. I think Dyson's a really good example where they focused on airflow with initially vacuum cleaners. They actually went into ironing clothes first, which didn't work.
What was their USP there? Hot steam coming out.
It's something to do with airflow and ironing clothes.
Weird, yeah.
But then actually someone tipped a glass on the table and then they kind of jokingly kind of like dried the table with this blade of air. And that eventually then they developed that to the hand dryers.
Oh, wow.
And then after the hand dryers, there's the fans. And then after the fans, it's the hair dryers. And so, that's a really good example that if you get really good capabilities, your customers will go with you.
Because they trust that everything that you do is going to be of the same quality.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I remember back in 2019 pitching to private equity and failing to convince anyone that we should go into backpacks. Even though I was like, well, we've developed this technology where we can put, a MacBook into a backpack and then we're going to throw it off a building. And then they just all kind of thought, this guy just seems a bit distracted. Like, phone case, you've got less than 1% market share of phone cases. What customer's going to buy a backpack from a phone case business? Even though we showed, we can put a MacBook into a backpack and then we can do these great videos. They couldn't use their imagination to see how great that could be. But customers in 30 seconds, love that.
Yeah.
So that's another example of where we've mixed capability with content. So now we're building a number of capabilities, like waterproofing, other durable materials, lightweight materials, all where we see quite clearly where there's a customer need and how we can create also really engaging content.
Well, you can see how far that can go because there's every type of bag from, just a backpack that you take to work all the way through to, your full set of luggage as well that presumably you would make super, super resistant to throwing out of a plane or something. I don't know.
We will see.
Sure what's next.
We will see. I think if when Mous goes into a category, we want people to go, oh, wow, those group of passionate engineers are really going to be pushing the limits of this category in I wonder how they've done it and I wonder what content they're going to show us. So you want people to go, oh, it's a Mous product, it's going to be good. And we've done products that we've kind of gone off the beaten path and it hasn't necessarily worked, so we've now really feel like we've learned what we're about.
And how is the rucksack business going then? How's that diversification been?
Yeah, it's going very well.
Yeah.
Very, very well. Yeah. We launched a pop-up in Shoreditch just to kind of get some direct feedback, because you can only do so much focus groups to understand what your customers want.
Literally seeing them buying and testing the product.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which makes it real as well, I guess.
But I'm confident that it's doing very well for us. Yeah.
That's great. And you were speaking about the PE guys and sort of you getting a bit, I guess, distracted, or them thinking that you were getting a bit distracted. I know you've got dyslexia, right? You're neurodiverse like me, obviously. Hugo, have you?
little sprinkle of something.
Little sprinkle. You definitely got a sprinkle of something. How do you work with that? How do you look at things differently? How do you control your mind and try not to get distracted? Because it's a fair assumption. One with that does.
I wouldn't say I have a problem with getting distracted at all. It's more that I think I was very dyslexic at school. I struggled with like reading and things. And so I think it's quite interesting. I've met a lot of entrepreneurs like yourself that because they struggle at certain things, they get quite good at other things to kind of counterbalance the weaknesses. So for me early on, I guess focused a lot on delegation.
Yeah.
Because there's fantastic, other co-founders and also team that are, all special in different ways. I think it's very important to have a diverse team. I think it's almost like, top trumps.
Yeah.
In top trumps, there's always, I don't know, the great white shark, which is like 5 out of 5 for danger, but then like the whale, which is 5 out of 5 for size, or then the jellyfish, which is, and no card is 5 out of 5 for everything.
Yeah.
I have never met an individual that is 5 out of 5 for everything. So what you really want to do is build a team where the team is 5 out of 5 for everything. And you don't necessarily worry so much about people's weaknesses, but you're looking for people's strengths.
Me again. I promise we'll get back to the episode in a minute. I just wanted to say thanks so much for listening. Hit that subscribe, hit that follow button. It means a lot. We cannot do this podcast without you guys. Back to the episode.
And I guess in terms of that delegation piece then, because people delegate in many mysterious ways, one of the ways that you delegate means that you actually don't have to be online really at all. You don't have to reply to emails whatsoever.
Well, teams, but...
How does that... How, basically? How?
I found it quite interesting when I used to work at P&G at how much people would be ruled by their email. And I remember reading Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Work Week, which has got some good tips in there, and then started to try and really use email a lot less, because I don't know whether you guys there's just so many people that go into the office and they go, right, today I'm going to try, or this morning I'm going to try and get on top of my emails.
Yeah, inbox zero, yeah.
But then that means your mailbox is hijacking your priorities.
Yeah.
Well, don't people say at the end of the day, I'm logging off, which in essence is logging off and logging out of their emails.
Yeah.
That's what it would have been.
But as in, if you're kind of, I guess trying to build a business thinking of the end in mind, you think back to that of what are the things you need to achieve, and that doesn't necessarily align with what's at the top of your inbox. So I also think if you send less emails, you get less emails.
Yeah.
So having a management team that you can really trust allows you to allow them to kind of communicate externally. And if you really trust your team, then actually they can be the ones sending the emails. You get far less, and you don't need to. You can essentially walk away from email.
And do you empower them to make the decisions on your behalf? If an email comes in and they need to get back to them within the next couple of hours, and you're on a flight or doing something and you're busy, like how do they make the decisions on your?
It's just that it's like any relationship, isn't it? It's trust. You get to trust each other more as time goes on. So people make more decisions on their own and so on, and that builds over time.
The it's more, a muscle, the better. Really. It's a muscle. Yeah. And, you see that people learn from their mistakes, and then that builds the kind of decision-making muscle.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And in terms of where you learned that was from the book, obviously, and in terms of ways that people can sort of pick that up, what's the sort of top 3 tips that you'd give to someone to start to delegate in that way?
Try and delegate as much as possible, i.e. send less emails and you get less. I think also people do learn over time. Like, for example, we've got a great relationship with Google. Like, over time, they might have found it strange that I'm not sending emails, but then over time, it just becomes natural. So it's something that takes some time, but then once you get there, you have
freedom. Yeah, no, I do. I think like the key learning from that is to not get, even if you continue to do emails, because, most people have to do that, but not letting external forces be the driver of, especially if you're the founder, the driver of what you do each day, keeping your priority for the quarter, for the year, what have you, as your top priority, And then, perhaps emails fall further down the list, but you still need to get them done. But you are owning what you're spending your time on such that it drives the business forward. I think that's a really good takeaway for people.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing I was fascinated about when I saw your team, in the WeWork opposite our little office, was the sheer number of people who are actually like doing CAD, developing like physical products. Because, a lot of the UK there's a lot of companies who make things, but they are not actually developing it themselves. They're kind of offshoring it or, relying on someone else to kind of make the formulation or what have you. What inspired you to do that? And then I guess, what have you learned by actually building it yourselves?
Right. I guess an interesting point to touch on first is that why is it that not many Western businesses do kind of like make hardware?
Yeah.
And essentially, I guess there's a few reasons. Firstly, I guess many, many years ago, there was a lot of offshoring to Asia, initially because the labor costs were lower.
Yeah.
But that kind of started a bit of a chain reaction, because eventually then we really started moving many years, lots over. Then, you start to lose talent.
Yeah.
And then there's also the loss of infrastructure. And I remember watching a video of Tim Cook talking about it, where he was kind of trying to pull apart the incorrect perception that now people, manufacture in Asia because it's cheaper. Well, it might be in certain countries, but China, for example, is actually quite expensive versus other countries. He was explaining that if he wanted to have a group of tooling engineers in the UK, he might struggle to fill the room.
Yeah.
Whereas in China, football field's worth.
Yep.
So that gives you a kind of the difference in
pipes are
talent
there.
is insane. Yeah. On the infrastructure, like even if you break down like even parts of our products, so like I don't know, PCB boards or the magnets or like, okay, even down to like the magnets. Well, where are the magnets made? Well, the magnets are made in China. How do you make a magnet? Well, actually even the materials that go into making it, like 100% of them are like
right?
are processed in China.
Yeah.
Or then where do you make the machinery that makes the processed materials? And so it really starts to go into this kind of everything's there to the point now that actually like the West has completely lost its know-how and also infrastructure and talent on making product. So you'll know this from like, you see loads of consumer businesses with House of Unicorns. Hardly any of them will be product businesses, right? And, there's some fantastic like, fashion businesses and, various categories, but the ones that I do kind of feel quite funny about are the kind of like the beauty and toiletry ones, where because from working from Procter and Gamble, you start to realize how much R&D goes into beauty products or like various household products or whatever. Many millions.
Yeah.
And then you'll see these kind of beauty businesses like that will be really expensive independent beauty businesses. They won't have anyone who works in product development. And so, so the product often is not as good as your Nivea or L'Oreal or whatever.
Yeah. And what, they're just basically running ads to
exactly
someone else's product that they bought from wherever.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Whereas in China, if you're an investor in China, most of the consumer businesses are hardware businesses.
Yeah.
And actually I imagine there's far more successful Chinese consumer businesses than there are Western. So an example would be like all of the different Amazon businesses. What essentially happened many years ago is the first generation that built the factory sent their kids to the West. They've then come back to like run the family business.
Yep.
And they've realized, hang on a second, we can get more value out the value chain by trying to sell direct to consumer. So actually what Amazon is now is a lot of the Amazon algorithm basically is trying to ship as many parcels as possible. That's why the algorithm tries to find cheaper products, because it's all about a volume, like a parcel infrastructure play.
Economy of scale,
Yeah. And so the majority of products that kind of win on Amazon are often kind of like not very good products, or they're not pushing performance. They might be amazing products if you're looking for the cheapest product. And that's kind of actually started to shape the world of hardware. So if you look at basically D2C businesses, there's very few D2C businesses that basically do products. So you've got, all these Chinese businesses that are going for low cost. The Western D2C businesses are often just kind of focusing on undercutting the traditional businesses. So if you take like shavers, for example, you'll have like Dollar Shave Club or Harry's or whatever, that, when those guys started out, they didn't go, oh, we know how to make products.
No.
Because they don't have that know-how.
Yeah.
We had to move to China for that.
Yeah.
So they go, well, actually, we're going to undercut the retailer, or the distributors and that channel, and go direct to consumer. And so actually, a lot of the D2C stuff you find on Instagram and stuff, unfortunately, isn't great quality either, because often they've just got the model of undercutting.
Yep.
So there's a real lack of focus on performance.
Yeah.
And so what Mous is all about is we're not really focused on Amazon, and we're trying to buck the trend by being really focused on having top performing products. And actually people just love that. And and that's why we do our product marketing, when we're not trying to sell happiness or those kind of like certain emotions. We just do good old product marketing because actually we're really bucking the trend.
Is better.
And people love that.
Yeah.
Just does what it says on the tin.
Yeah. And then I think this kind of like people losing the know-how has actually started to affect our quite large kind of like heritage product businesses, which is a real shame. And because it's now kind of gone all the way into the investor community, right? So if you were to think of, the board of a major product business, I very much doubt the investors are kind of like really wanting to talk about, product and what products are they developing and how are they doing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As I've experienced when I've kind of spoken to investors, they don't have that know-how. Our economy moved towards tech and finance and services. And so people who have made money to invest don't have that expertise. And so, that's why, businesses like Nike have kind of lost their way at times, because they've stopped, because they haven't had the pressure from their shareholders to develop fantastic products. And when there are other businesses that buck the trend, I guess like On Running's a good example, where, founders that really focused on product and doing it differently, and customers love that because now On Running's like blowing up, right? And rightly so, because they've actually, pushed that category forward in a certain way.
There's a lot of low barrier to entry, high scale for a lot of these people. And there's no innovation. There's very little innovation. Anyway. Yeah.
So obviously we see some crazy news every day, from our orange friend in the US. What happens to Mous if China and the US do genuinely fall out? I'm hoping that they won't, for all of our safety and sanity. But what happens to you guys?
We live in the physical world. So everything we do actually goes back to physical products. Even like AI will go back to, chips and hardware infrastructure and stuff. So if that happens, we are kind of all somewhat screwed.
Yeah.
And so for us, I imagine it would be similar to like the shock that we had at COVID, where initially it was a real challenge, but actually we actually came out of that stronger because online kind of performed quite well.
Yeah.
For us, like everyone else, we would challenge, but we already do manufacture in various places other than China.
Okay.
And we've got a full team. We've got a great mix of individuals and cultures. We've got a lot of engineers in London. So we would most probably find it far easier than the vast majority of our competitors are actually Chinese businesses, because they're the ones that really know how to develop products.
So if anything, you're actually rooting for a fallout.
Definitely not.
That is spread betting.
It'd be a difficult thing. And something that
But you're actually quite well placed to deal with changes because of the way you've got the business.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So how do you go from a 3D printer, in your Chinese bedroom, to throwing phones off Google's HQ, off the roof of their HQ?
What we found is there's some fantastic people out there who are real experts, and you just need to ask for advice. So, as we've gone into new categories, say wireless charging, or even like specific features or materials within our products, we've just reached out and tried to find the experts, even, at times ask them to become shareholders or whatever. And then they teach you a huge amount, right? So, there has been times where, we were complete novices at wireless charging, or, now we feel we're kind of like market leaders in that space. So, and we've really focused on building a fabulous team. And so the product team is phenomenal. And I think, we developed some products, under the Made for Google program. So making the first, ecosystem of magnetic accessories, because then we could, together kind of jointly work out how we were going to get around all the, not get around, but make sure that the phone didn't have any issues with NFC or over-the-air signal, that kind of stuff. And we'd already had expertise in that area. So we developed that range under the program. And then, as the kind of relationship's grown, we've wanted to do more together. So, we developed, a range that was designed by the team that designed the Pixel.
Nice.
Fabulous kind of design, and uses all the Google colors. And they really wanted a case that was, a case for people that don't like cases.
Yeah.
So we called it Mous Super Thin. It was the thinnest case we felt we could make. It was actually quite challenging. They really challenged us, but that's what creates greatness,
Yeah.
And then we've also done some videos with Google, so where we've let us on their roof in California and through the new Pixel phone out.
You had a BMXer as well, going around the side?
Yeah, jumping over signs and all sorts of stuff.
And obviously you talk about greatness. You seem to be working with an F1 team as well. They are kind of, if you're an engineer, they are the top level of excellence. How on earth did that come about?
Mercedes F1 team travels to 24 races a year. They all really want top performing products. That's what they're about. And they push their products to the limits. And so they gave us a lot of feedback, even on our products, on where they could see improvements. So they wanted a product that still had the mouse performance.
Yep.
They wanted the protection element, but they wanted it to be a lot lighter. They wanted also something that they could put underneath the seat, if everything's full. So we've made a product that is lighter. It's not quite as protective as the Mous Extreme Commuter, and it's also very functional, because they traveling with engineers, so all sorts of stuff. So it's actually got more pockets as well. And we're going to be developing more products, taking their feedback, and we've now got them pushing the limits of pushing us, and it's a great partnership.
So you've got about 140 odd people in the company now. How do you think about people in the business?
I think it's important to have great people, as in at the end of the day, the business is just a group of people doing stuff, and like what I'm doing is, even I can work as hard as I possibly can, but it's insignificant to what 140 people are doing. So it's not about your priority list. It's about getting great people, enabling them. It's also, it goes far beyond even like, I'm lucky enough to have like a really supportive wife, and we've got a daughter now, and she's quite very supportive of everything with
how old is she? 6 months old?
Oh, the daughter very supportive. Holly's very supportive. I don't know, it's in like, you do need to kind of have a kind of real team mentality,
both on and off the pitch.
and I think that helps being dyslexic, right? So I think from early on, it's always been everyone else doing amazing work. And so I kind of feel quite guilty being on a podcast, like, getting the limelight. It's actually like many other individuals' work, and lots of passionate and relentless people, at whatever they're doing. That makes what Mous is. That's what makes Mous about. The reason why people buy into our brand is because they're trusting that our team has gone above and beyond. Yeah, and that's not just the product or the content. That's the finance team and the logistics, because you need to have a really well-oiled business to be able to, put the energy that we do into both product and content.
And just to kind of wrap up, you've had this amazing journey so far. You've built a formidable business with tens of millions of pounds of revenue, hundreds of employees. What's next? Where should we watch the journey? And how can we follow along, to make sure that we sit on the front line as Mous releases more things and does more exciting things?
It's all about having a fantastic team. So the product team are absolutely phenomenal. So they're working on all sorts of capabilities that our also in-house content team will be bringing to life in worryingly engaging ways.
Any sneak peeks?
I think I do have to jump out of something next week.
Really?
Jumping off something quite high. So yeah.
Oh wow!
So it's going to be thanks to the content team. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing that.
Parachutes and all.
Oh wow! Very high then. Well, we look forward to seeing that.
Yeah. Make sure you brand the aircraft. Thanks so much for popping in. It's it's been a privilege. I love Mous, obviously. I'm a customer of Mous. But yeah, good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap for this episode of Success is in the Mind with me, Oliver Bruce, and Hugo Tilmouth. We hope you enjoyed today's conversations and have taken away some valuable insights to fuel your own journey. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a little bit of inspiration. You can also follow us on social media for the behind-the-scenes content. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep pushing forward, stay curious, and remember, success is always in the mind.